Joining me for all the chat on all the big topics, can't wait to hear what he has to say. Philip Ingram, MBE, former senior military intelligence officer. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Now, it's a Tuesday, not a Thursday, so I caught you out.
I was just going to say, this is going to throw everybody all day. What day is it? What day is it? You know, it is Tuesday. You've helped us out. We've got a little bit of a swapping around because someone was unwell, unable to come in. So we're very, very grateful to you.
My pleasure.
Hot-footing it from Birmingham. Thank you very much. Lots to talk about.
What, are things going on?
The things are going on. Literally, been on air since 2016. I mean, since 2016, there have been some holidays in between, guys. And every day I'm like, oh, it's another busy news day. It is. I mean, when does it stop? We were told by Downing Street Monday morning, like, as we promised within weeks, those first deportation flights, the one-in, one-out deal with France, they're going to take place this week, probably as early as Monday. And then we heard very little, and then very little. Apparently, one guy was supposed to be on this
They did say one in, one out, so you're one selected.
It's supposed to be about 50. Even the trial only about 50, 50 in, 50 out. Of course, it'd be more because they'll be legal. They'll be able to bring their relatives. And meanwhile, we got 450 a day, 500 a day. I mean, the whole thing's mad anyway. If they think that this policy, even if it goes ahead, even if it went ahead on scale, like thousands of people deported and then thousands more come in, it still wouldn't be touching the sides of the issue that we can identify as the problem. But the fact they couldn't even get the first flight off the ground. Now, the Rwanda flight, we all remember that airport, the flight, the plane sitting actually on the ground as one by one these migrants were taken off the plane because their legal advice was you can't deport this person. Do you think this is ever going to happen? They're going to try again today?
No, not in the slightest. And if ever there was a way to encourage more people to come across, you come across in a little boat, you get put up in a 4-star hotel, you get 3 meals a day, you get trips out to all of the different theme parks around the country, to Legoland, you get taught golf and everything else. And if your asylum fails, you get a business class flight back to Paris. We put up in a 4-star hotel.
Do you think that's why they're that expensive? They must be business class.
Or flexible or something. But you get a nice flight back to then
return to the States for that.
Yeah, to then go back to Calais again and do it all over again. Rinse and repeat.
And I'm going to guess the smuggling gangs aren't stupid, and they're going to say, if you do get sent back, we'll give you a free trip back again. Don't worry about it. They've honestly, these people are master entrepreneurs. Yeah. They know what they're doing. It's just madness. But the fact that they can't actually get their first one out, you think, I mean, again, this is how bad they are. Or maybe this was after the number 10 director of strategy, about whom we'll talk in a moment, after he'd already resigned. Who knows? But the fact that you talk about it before the flight is in the air, just shut up about it until the guy is literally taken off and you go, right, first deportation flight is gone. But
I think Keir Starmer's now beginning to get a dose of reality, because he was encouraging all of these charities and legal firms and all the rest of it to fight anything that the Tories had put out. Yeah. And hence why Rwanda never really got off the ground, because at every opportunity it was stopped by the same charities.
Like Keir's mates.
And Keir then said, we'll bin this, I'll smash the gangs. Well, he hasn't smashed too many gangs from what we can see. And his first attempt at doing it has failed.
It's genuinely embarrassing. I would love to hear from you about this. I mean, is anyone even surprised? No. It is laughable. It is extraordinary. We cannot get people out of this country, and I'm going to guess that the people they've put on the flight, now I'm going to guess they're not rapists and murderers and things, or anyone we're sure about. They've just got them off the boats. They've been in detention, haven't been able to commit any crimes.
The French wouldn't want any others.
The French would refuse. The French get a veto. So, exactly. But they're going to be single blokes who've got no right to be here. They'll have chosen the people they thought were the best case scenarios, and they can't get even one on a plane. Yeah. We are an utterly just broken nation that we can't do this. It's utterly pathetic. I want to hear from you. What's your reaction? I mean, surprise? I'm thinking not. Do you think they'll ever get any of these flights onto ground? And does it even matter? Does it even matter? It's such a pointless exercise. We're going to get other people in who are going to be legal, from France, perfectly safe in France, but I keep saying this, but they've got a second cousin in Leicester, they've got a claim to be in Britain, and then they're going to come here, and then they're going to have a right as a legal arrival here to benefit, council house, and bring their families. I mean, again, it's not one in, one out. It's 17 in, one out, and then another 17 relatives.
Yeah. who then claim that they're additional relatives.
Yeah, and of course, we're not paying for their hotels anymore. No, but we're going to pay for their council house. Oh, no, sorry, they're all engineers and entrepreneurs. They're going to be paying for themselves. They're going to be jumping the housing list, because immigrants always do. I'm sorry, it's not racist or bigoted, because if you've got no links with anyone here, but you can, you haven't got a family member, like, if you're homeless here, well, can't your mum put you up? No. Well, I haven't got a mum here. They're in, Syria or wherever. Then the council has to house you. So you jump ahead of people who do have family links here, who are already here. It's just madness.
Yeah, and that's more pressure on the NHS, more GPs appointments you're not going to get, because of course they're prioritised.
Yeah.
We've seen.
And let's bring in some more kids who don't speak English, not even as a first language, but don't speak English. Into the classroom. Well, yeah, so, your kid becomes a teaching assistant rather than a pupil in that class, because they're having to help. And who do you think the teachers are focusing on? Now, you can understand they want to help the kids who have sort of got more to catch up on, but that means that your kid ain't going to get taught. And that's the reality of what is happening. Anyway, your thoughts, please. 8344 499 1000. You can text the word talk in your message to 87222. Get in touch on X at talkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs the standard network rate message. Let's talk about Keir Starmer's woes.
Which ones?
I mean, he's
woes.
so...
Oh, dear.
So, yes, everyone we speak to, we had Andrew Neil on the show yesterday, and he's been, he's a very good commentator. He has been around. He's counted them in, he's counted them out over the years. He's met these people, interviewed these people at great length. And you think, didn't think he'd be that bad. That's the thing. I've said this for a year and 2 months. I didn't think he'd be that bad. I never thought he was great. I've got family members who voted for Keir Starmer. I've got family members who know him, that North London thing. Oh, they really, he's very clever. He's, a great white hope. I'm like, I don't know what you're seeing that I don't see. You can tell from he's so robotic in his speech. This little pool clip he gave, and he was asked about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he's admitted that he was told of this investigation into Peter Mandelson's close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, the now dead but paedophile. Technically not a paedophile, because he was interested in 14-year-olds plus, but nevertheless. Children. If you've had a 14-year-old daughter, you know what they look like. They look like a child, because they're children. But he's he basically, Keir Starmer, appointed Peter Mandelson when it was known that he was very good friends with this man to the US ambassador, the UK ambassador to the US role, despite knowing, and we all knew that he had that friendship with Epstein, and had it long after. He was actually convicted, pleading guilty to 2 charges in 2006, to basically the charges of solicitation of prostitution. I'm trying not to sneeze. Solicitation of prostitution and solicitation of prostitution of a minor, a 14-year-old girl. So he pleaded guilty to that and went to pretend open prison for that. We already knew about that, and he stayed friends with him when he was appointed. Then we had these emails come out via Bloomberg. Keir Starmer went to PMQs last Wednesday afternoon and said he had full confidence in Jeffrey Epstein. Probably did. Sorry, into Peter Mandelson. Probably does. And then later, now I've seen these emails. Now I know this close friendship. This birthday book. I'm going to have to sack him. There's an emergency debate in the Commons, 3 hours of debate about this. And I'm thinking 3 hours is rather too long. There are other things that we could be debating that affect real people's lives, MPs, thank you. That's going to ramp up the pressure. But this is what the Prime Minister told an interviewer yesterday. Let's watch and listen to that clip.
Obviously, the diplomatic post of American ambassador, really important post. And Peter Mandelson, before he was appointed, went through a due diligence process. That's the propriety and ethics team, went through a process. And therefore, I knew of his association with Epstein. But had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
Had I known then what I know now, I would never have appointed him. That's not true, because we don't really know much more now than we knew then. This was a man who was close friends with a man long after he had pleaded guilty to charges of soliciting for prostitution of a 14-year-old girl. Just to be clear about what that meant, including the details that came out in the grand jury investigation. We're talking about a 14-year-old girl who was asked to give him a massage, was told to strip virtually naked herself while he masturbated himself, and we believe, asking her to masturbate him as well. There were lots of other girls that were involved in this, lots of other, as we know, even at the time, but lots of those charges were dropped for this pleaded down issue. Now, what he pleaded guilty to alone. Keir Starmer's got a daughter. I've got a daughter. Keir Starmer has got a teenage daughter, and he was quite happy to appoint a man who had pleaded guilty to soliciting a 14-year-old girl to basically, masturbate him.
Appoint a man who had supported and was best friends with someone who had
and continued to be best friends with,
and continued to try and suggest that even after he was convicted, he'd find some way of, and it was so wrong.
Why? I mean, again, he wasn't convicted and pleaded not guilty. He pleaded guilty. Epstein pleaded guilty to this.
Yeah. And if you look at Keir Starmer's body language in that interview, he's lying. You can tell he's lying. You can tell the way his eyes are darting all over the place, the way his facial expression is, and he's withdrawing from. He knows that what he's saying is not true. He knew everything beforehand, and he should have known more. And we've seen.
But he knew. But we know. He's admitted. He knows that the Foreign Office had this information. It passed the downstream. So either you've got a chief of staff who didn't pass the information to you. You've got a totally inadequate, incompetent government. Yes.
Well, we know that.
Yeah. Or you chose not to. But why would you give full confidence on me? You could have said, "There's an investigation." And I'll come back
to the House whenever I got the details of that investigation. He should have said that.
I just don't think there's anything we know now that we didn't know when Mandelson was appointed.
No, there's nothing. But if you look at Keir Starmer's history of everything before someone gets sacked, it's always, I've got full confidence. He'll say that in public because he's trying to suggest that he's in charge and he's protecting the Labour Party, protecting the government, all the rest of it, when actually he's undermining it because he's not bringing the truth out and he's hiding the truth.
Absolutely.
And his facial expressions, the body language.
But he's also tetchy. He really dislikes someone sort of questioning his competence or his morality.
Or his authority. He's got an ego. Ego is the biggest word. And the
but I
don't
think he'll have an ego much longer because I mean he is hemorrhaging cabinet ministers and staff and ambassadors and MPs support. There's no doubt more pressure. His director of strategy resigned yesterday. I mean, again, didn't know he had one. I think we're going to disagree on this. Going to Paul Ovenden. It was a lewd email exchange with a former colleague. It's about the veteran Labour MP, now an independent, I think, Diane Abbott. Everyone's claiming it's misogynistic, it's sexist. Now, basically, he was reporting in an email that there had been a conversation, with, I think, in the pub, and it actually involved women involved as well. So we don't know why it's misogynistic and everything. I don't know why people are throwing in racist. Just because Diane Abbott is black doesn't mean if someone's having a conversation about her that isn't flattering, that it's about the colour of her skin. I've never met this man. I hold no candle for him. I hold no candle for this government. But this is not a resigning matter. He was playing, I can't say some of the words on air, so I'll say it's a crude version of Snog, Marry, Avoid, a game that everyone I know has played. And basically, you give someone, right, I'm going to give you 3 names. Which one would you snog? Which one would you marry? Which one would you, throw off a cliff is another version of it. My version is I always marry the one I least like because I can slow torture them. Just being married to me for the rest of your life. Imagine that.
That's not slow torture.
There was some very sexually explicit, but he was repeating what other people had said. Yeah. This is a conversation other people had, including women, not sexist, not racist, just a sodding game in a pub or whatever. Or it's about a colleague. Well, you worked at the Labour Party and she was Labour MP. It's not like talking. It's not like sitting in a work meeting and talking about your colleague who sits 2 desks away from you. And it was 8 years ago, and he's resigned. The fun auditors will not stop until we all sit in silence all day, every day, apart from when someone asks us what our preferred pronouns are.
We need the truth about Beergate to come out. But no, this is something that sat on the shelf until journalists have gone, now is the time to bring this out because we know that it can create the sensation
Get it over and done with.
Wouldn't have done beforehand. But and it's all about the intent behind the game. Yes, it would be racist, misogynistic if the intent was racism or misogynistic behaviour. It wasn't. It was a
fun game.
It was a game that a number of people are having in a pub and wasn't meant to be.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of the Labour people, they would call for the resignation of Tories or Reform people who did that.
Of course.
Can everyone? I think that private conversations should remain private.
Yes.
And private conversations involving lewd, explicit, whatever. I just don't think people should be held for. Would you keep your job? Let me ask you, the audience. Would you keep your job seriously if every one of your private messages about someone you distantly knew at work were made public? I doubt it very much.
I'm sorry. There is a reason why he should have. He needs to have resigned and all that.
Because he's rubbish at being a director of strategy.
No. Have you ever had an earworm of a tune that you absolutely hate going through your mind?
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
I'm sorry.
Images
the image that's been implanted in my mind.
Diana,
that's against the Geneva Convention. I'm sorry.
I can't say any of it on air. I'm just not allowed to. But I've tweeted about it. But I've pleaded the actual conversation. I've got no problem with it. I've genuinely. And someone said, "What if it was about you?" And it'd be like, I'd say like, "Oi," you know. I mean, but I'm sorry, I
kind of a parachute before I go off the cliff.
Everyone needs to absolutely get a grip. I think people should resign because they're completely incompetent or dishonest, not because of this. What do you make of Danny Kruger, the first sitting Tory MP, and indeed a shadow cabinet member and a figure, used to be a speechwriter for Cameron, he was political secretary to Boris Johnson. I mean, he's a serious person. He's not an also-ran who just sort of turns up in the corner or got a blue rosette on. But Danny Kruger was the first sitting Tory MP to defect to reform yesterday, saying the Conservative Party is over. What do you make of that? How big a boost for reform is it, and how big is the damage to Kemi Badenoch as Tory leader?
He's the first of many.
You think so?
Well, we've discussed this before over the past months and months as reform has grown, and I've said consistently that once Tory shadow ministers, former Tory ministers, Tory MPs suddenly see the writing on the wall, they're going to jump because they will see an opportunity to get into government in the future. And actually, it's what reform needs because
they'll be rewarded by jumping early as well.
Yes, but it's what reform needs because reform lacks any experience of MPs who've got longevity in Parliament and any experience in government whatsoever. So if they can get people who are shadow ministers, have experience in government, have everything else, they've then got the makings of setting up a new government in the future. If they don't get that, then there's no hope. It's a real danger.
That's it. People say, people who've been in government, they'll be more competent. Well, the people who've been in government for the last 14 years and the ones who've been in government for the last 14 months haven't shown much competence.
But they know how the machinery works, and you have to know how the machinery works.
Yeah.
And Nigel Farage is not putting a lot of effort into getting to know how the machinery works. He's rebelling against it. And
you know why? Because the machinery is going to do everything it can to stop him getting anything done.
But it will, and it'll break him. It'll break him.
That's my worry. The machinery is going to have to be torn down.
That's the trouble. Yeah.
Can I ask you, just before we go to break, I feel it's ridiculous to say this so briefly, but Israel has launched their fresh Gaza ground offensive. BBC keep getting mentioned to eliminate Hamas. They're not going in to kill civilians. There's this terrorist group. They might have done. There was something they did on October the 7th, 2023, but it's so difficult to remember. Certainly the BBC and Sky can't remember. But this is a major escalation of the war. But that happened last night. Today, the UN Commission have issued a commission established by the United Nations has reported that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. It's clear there is an intent to destroy the Palestinians in Gaza. And it meets the criteria set down for defining a genocide. This actually, though, the British government had decided a week ago that they weren't. I mean, this is utter, unadulterated nonsense.
Correct. If Israel wanted to destroy the Gazans,
they'd have been gone on October the 8th.
They'd have been gone on October. Israel has got a phenomenal military capability, and they could have eradicated it if they used the ultimate weapon. They could have eradicated Gaza in a quick flash.
No, but we saw what they did with Hezbollah. The pages. We saw what they've done in Iran. We saw what they've done with Houthi rebels. The idea that they can't take on Hamas.
But again, from a targeting perspective, they're giving warnings into individuals saying move from here because we're going to target it. If you want to destroy the people that are in there, you don't give them warnings. You don't tell them to move. You just
and then they're blamed. But they're forcing them to leave. Yes, because we need to get the Hamas people.
There are two flaws with what Israel's doing at the minute. One is Benjamin Netanyahu from his political position, because he does need the conflict to continue to stay in power, and that is being turned against him and the Israeli people and Israel as state. The second thing is his military objectives, which were to destroy Hamas. You cannot destroy Hamas by purely military means alone, and he hasn't set the objective for the conflict to stop. He needs to do that.
Yeah, that's it. Meeting the actual war aim. 48 hostages still dead and alive, still in Hamas tunnels, used as human shields right now in Gaza. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything else that we've got on the news. I mean, it's never ending, this news is today, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, in particular on the failure already of one in, one out. What do you make of Keir Starmer's woes over Mandelson? Do you believe a single word the Prime Minister says? I'd love to hear from you.